Pokemon Legends Arceus. This game looks really cool. What is going on, everybody? My name is Kneeckoh and welcome back to another Pokemon video. This one's gonna be about Pokemon Arceus. We just did one talking about Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes, and now it's time to address the big elephant in the room. Now, I will say that originally when I saw the Pokemon Presents, I was much more hype for Pokemon Legends. However, the more I sit on it and the more I think about it, I'm definitely more hyped for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, just because we don't know jack really about Pokemon Legends. Like, it looks really cool, don't get me wrong, but we don't really know much of anything about what this game is actually going to be. So my hype has definitely shifted from Legends back to the Diamond and Pearl remakes, and there's going to be a bunch more videos talking about both of these games as we find out more information. So if this is your first time here on the channel, make sure you are subscribed for more Pokemon content in the future. But let's talk about Pokemon Legends Arceus. Now, I did this just like the Diamond and Pearl remakes video that I did, where I broke it down into what we know, the predictions, and the unknown for these games. So we're going to start with the what we know stuff. First off, this game is a prequel, like, feudal Japan setting Pokemon game. This takes place way before, you know, cities and Pokemon centers and traditional Pokeballs even. Like, this is feudal Japan setting. It looks really cool, ancient time Pokemon, and it basically, from what we saw in the trailer, the second thing is we only really seem to have one major town. Now, this could definitely change the further into development they get. They could definitely add more locations and towns and things like that. But from what we saw and what they stated in the trailer, right now it seems that we are going to be getting one main town where you, I'm assuming, you know, get quests and things like that and items and things of that nature. And then the rest of the area is more like the wild area where there's wild Pokemon running around, things like that. It definitely has a Breath of the Wild look about it. The third thing, overworld Pokemon. They are returning. It seems to be a very huge feature in this game. Like I've said numerous times in videos in the past, Pokemon Sword and Shield definitely seemed like a test run, beta test for open world Pokemon. The same with Let's Go. Let's Go was the start. They incorporated themes from Let's Go into Sword and Shield, and now with Sword and Shield's wild area and the 2 DLC expansions that were all, you know, overworld Pokemon, they really seem to be moving in that direction toward there being just overworld Pokemon all the time, which is shown off here in the trailer. You know, there was the Shinx, there was the Rhyhorn, there was Bidoof, a bunch of stuff that was running around in the overworld. I will say that the overworld does look a little bare, but that's likely because this is early stage of development. There's definitely going to be more changes made to this game along the way over the next year before it is released. But that is another thing I noticed in the trailer. The fourth thing that we know is that these are not the traditional Sinnoh region starters. This game takes place in the Sinnoh region, but we don't get to choose from Turtwig, Chimchar, or Piplup. We actually get to choose from Rowlet, Cyndaquil, or Oshawott, which I think is really cool because they're not just, you know, using the same stuff, especially coming right off of the Diamond and Pearl remakes. We might be a little burnt out on those starters, so really getting the option to choose something a little different is very cool. We get to see that these starters come from a professor who has traveled around and caught them throughout the different regions, and these are going to be our options as our starter Pokemon. From what I gather, these are supposed to symbolize, you know, a samurai in the form of Samurott, an archer or a ranger in the form of Decidueye, and then a warrior in the form of Typhlosion. So I think this is really cool in the feudal setting that they are laying out here for this game. I really like the starter choices. From what they said in the trailer, it seems this game is going to be a departure from the typical, you know, go do the gyms and do the Elite Four. It's going to be more focused on catching Pokemon and exploration, because the point of this game is that you are going out and taking one of these 3 starter Pokemon, and you're actually going to create the first Sinnoh Pokedex, which I think is a really cool concept. It definitely leads to more exploration, in my opinion. That was the most time I spent in the wild area in Pokemon Sword and Shield, was when I was running around trying to fill my Pokedex out so I could get the shiny charm. So imagine that in a very open world setting with a lot of exploration and assuming puzzles and things based on the Breath of the Wild vibe that you get from watching this trailer. This is looking to be a very cool concept for a Pokemon game. The next thing that we know is that combat does still feature the 4 moves, and the moves have power points that you're going to use in order to do combat and things of that nature. But at this time, it doesn't seem very clear whether or not this is still turn-based on a timer system, much like it is in Pokemon Sword and Shield, or if this is more action combat oriented and you're going to be doing this at a faster pace. We got to see the moves, we got to see them in use in the trailer, but it didn't show a whole lot of the battle, so we don't really have a definitive, but we know that the 4 moves per Pokemon is returning. 7. Reportedly, this is going to be a single player experience. From what Cerebi has reported and what other places are reporting, this game is not going to have multiplayer battles or online battles. So that leads to a question of where the VGC is going to go from here, which I will have a separate video talking about that, because that is something that I've been thinking about constantly since these announcements. So that is very interesting that this is going to be a single player style game, which I just think is really, really cool. The final thing that we know for certain, unless this gets delayed, which is a good chance this could get delayed, is that the release date is set for early 2022. I find this very interesting, and I will talk about that a little bit more in the predictions section. Now, we will move into the predictions on what I think is possible for this game. So like I've said numerous times throughout the, what we know, this game reeks of Breath of the Wild. Like, it looks in it just, you know how some people say games have a smell? Well, this game smells like Breath of the Wild. You can feel where the inspiration came from. You can see where the inspiration came from in a lot of the shots, even in the trailer. So with this being so Breath of the Wild like, I have a feeling that there will be both main story missions where you go out and complete, story and cinematic objectives where, you're going to get your cutscenes and stuff, but there's also going to be a lot of side quests and things like that, like fetch quests, go get me these items, or go catch these Pokemon and bring them back to me, that kind of thing. So I definitely see both sides of it coming into play here. Now, again, this is a Breath of the Wild style game. I could see this game being anywhere from 30 to 40 hours. That's my prediction on how long this experience is likely going to be, depending on how you play the game. For me personally, Breath of the Wild was about 30 hours after I did a fair chunk of the side mission stuff, and then just decided to finish mainlining the rest of the game. So it just depends on how you play, but I could see, like, in terms of like a standard playthrough, 30 hours seems about right for this game if it is to be like a Breath of the Wild experience. Now, I think that this is definitely going to be the game where we see, riding Pokemon become much more prevalent. There's definitely things like, the glider and stuff that they could implement from Breath of the Wild, but I think it would be so much cooler if we're utilizing our Pokemon to, like, scale walls and fly around or glide. Things like that would be so much cooler if we were using the Pokemon rather than using tools at our disposal. That's just a prediction I have, is that we will see quite a bit more riding Pokemon in this game. Then the final thing is the release date. I want to talk about that because it seems a little suspicious, and I talked about this in the video where I broke down both of these right after the announcement, the Diamond and Pearl remix as well as Pokemon Legends Arceus. The release date for Legends Arceus is very peculiar because there have been rumors and speculations regarding the Switch Pro and the fact that the Switch Pro is likely coming. There have been numerous rumors that the Nintendo Switch Pro is coming and that Nintendo would mimic the release of the original Nintendo Switch model, which released very, very early in the year. Now, we've got tons of games that are rumored to be coming soon, but not quite yet, likely in 2022. Legends Arceus being one of them, that seems to support this idea that we are going to be getting a Nintendo Switch Pro early next year. So, other games like this, Breath of the Wild 2, I think this is a very, very obvious one. They showed off in the Nintendo Direct that they are not quite ready to show any more Breath of the Wild, and that we will see a lot more of it later this year, likely lining this up for an early 2022 or a summer 2022 release. If this is the case for Breath of the Wild 2 as well as Pokemon releasing in early 2022, it seems very likely that we will be getting a new Nintendo Switch that both of these games will be launch titles for, both of these games being Breath of the Wild 2 as well as Legends Arceus. And I think what also supports this idea is that the gameplay that we saw in the trailer was rough. Now, granted, this could be a very early stage of this game and very early gameplay, but it did look very rough, and it seems to support the idea that this game would perform a lot better if there was a new Nintendo Switch coming down the line. So that is my prediction, is that this game will actually be one of the launch titles for a new Nintendo Switch model. Finally, we get into our unknowns on Pokemon Legends Arceus. There is a fair chunk that we don't know, and just like, Diamond and Pearl remakes, we will get a lot more information spoon-fed to us the closer to release we get for this game. But first thing, we don't know how many Pokemon there are going to be. We do not know how many Pokemon there are going to be in this game. I have no idea if this Pokemon game is even going to support home, because it is a single player experience. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of a reason for them to necessarily have us bring Pokemon in, but possibly there could be a reason for us bringing Pokemon out and putting them in home in that fashion. So I find this very interesting. The only thing with home collaboration would be the Pokeball style that you get in this game. It doesn't support any of the Pokeballs that are currently available in the mainline games. So there could be just a side game being Legends Arceus that does not support Pokemon home functionality, which means this would have a very secluded Pokedex. I briefly touched on the second thing earlier. We just don't know how the battles are going to operate. Yes, we know that there are going to be 4 moves per Pokemon, as well as power points that the moves run off of, but it is not clear whether or not this is going to be a turn-based style game or more action RPG oriented. This game is labeled as an action RPG, but it's just very unclear at this time what the battles are truly going to be like. It does seem to be that instead of, getting the standard cut to a different instanced area for the battles like we get in the current Pokemon games, we are going to just go into this little scene where we start battling and the world around us is still there and unchanged. So it definitely is just up in the air at this point. We don't have a firm idea of what the battles are going to be like, but we do have a brief glimpse. The next thing we don't know is if this is going to be a one-off game. They have definitely said that this is a new mainline experience, much like Pokemon Let's Go was, but Let's Go was a kind of one-off game. They made Let's Go, and we haven't had another Let's Go game since. So it could be a very similar thing with Pokemon Legends Arceus. I do think that Pokemon Legends Arceus is going to influence whatever Gen 9 is going to be, much like Let's Go influenced Sword and Shield. I think that this game is going to, kind of be its own thing, and then they will take bits and pieces from it and then apply it to the next generation of Pokemon games later down the road, possibly with the open world idea, the overworld Pokemon, the exploration, side quests, things of that nature that could pop up throughout Pokemon Legends could be applied to the next generation of actual Pokemon games. Because I don't think that Legends is actually going to be our new mainline standard moving forward. I think a lot of things from Legends will make it into the next game, but Legends will stay its own thing, and I could definitely see them doing in more games like Legends, assuming Legends does well, which I can pretty much guarantee it will because it's Pokemon, and Pokemon typically does well. I could see Legends being its own little series where they go back to feudal times in different regions featuring different legendary Pokemon and different stories. I think that would be a really cool idea. The final thing is, if there is a Switch Pro coming, will this game be exclusive to the Nintendo Switch Pro? Now, I do think that there is a Switch Pro coming. I think it's very likely, based on the release date, that this is going to be a launch title for the Nintendo Switch Pro. However, in terms of whether or not this game will be exclusive to the Nintendo Switch Pro, I do not believe that will be the case. If you look at the Nintendo Switch, it has so many units out in the wild. Like, it has one of the highest install bases of any console out there. And Nintendo doesn't want to throw that away. Nintendo doesn't want to lose out on those 100 million Switch units that are already out there in the wild. I do think this game is very much going to be the case of, hey, look, this game runs so much better over here. This is why you should upgrade to a Nintendo Switch Pro. Or if you don't have a Switch already, get the Switch Pro. But they're definitely not going to be like, screw all you previous Switch owners, you can't play this game. It's just going to be a game that, like, they definitely use to market and sell the new model while still being playable on the older models. But that is all I have for this today, guys. Again, much of this video is speculation and just guessing, and that's the fun part right now, is we don't know jack about these games. I just think it's fun talking about it and bringing up conversations in the comments below of what could possibly happen with these games. Like I said earlier, I will be covering these games extensively as more information comes out on them. But that is going to be it for this one, and I hope you found the video entertaining and helpful. If you did, be sure you leave a like and smash the subscribe button for more videos like this in the future. Share the video with your friends. Let's grow the community. Speaking of community, check out the Discord. People over there playing Pokemon all the time. And check me out over on Twitch, TikTok, and all my socials if you're interested in keeping up with me, this channel, the stream, or anything like that. Like I said, that is it for this video, and I hope to see you all in the next one.